All right. I believe I am live. Good morning, everybody. I am going to be doing a random code stream this morning for a couple hours. There's a couple of bugs and things within rocks that I want to address. I'm also starting to wonder if, where's my mouse? If I'm actually ever going to be able to get to, where is this one? The static abstract members one. Yeah, I want it for 9. It may be deferred. It's not going to go off the radar. It's just going to be deferred probably. There's another one that I might get to, but it's this idea that somebody mentioned. I ran into something with the fact that I copy the assembly twice in the package. There's potentially a better way to do it, and it's going to take some time to basically pull everything out into an assembly that both rocks can refer to but not deliver. But it doesn't need it, but the code that it generates needs it, and that can be included in the package. It's actually kind of a nice idea, but it may take some time to pull out the things that rocks really doesn't need. And I don't understand how this works too. It's like with the attribute that you need to put in your code, does that get defined in this extra project, or is that in your generator project? Like, I don't know, but it's an idea, and I might get to that, but that wouldn't affect users of rocks. It really would look the same at the end of the day. So in any event, there are a couple of things I want to take a look at. So I'm going to get the music going. So we have some stuff in the background playing while I'm doing all this. So this is an interesting one. This bug is basically, let me turn it down just a little bit. There we go. I don't want that to be overpowering. I just want it to be kind of background. By the way, a friend of mine mentioned this software. I'm not getting any revenue for ads or anything like that for mentioning it, but I'm looking at starting to write my own music again. I haven't done that in a while, and I'm getting the itch, and I think it'd be fun to start to make my own background music, just start writing songs again. And he mentioned this tool is actually a pretty good one, so we'll take a look at that in the future. Anyway, this is where you're targeting a type and it's returning something that's nested. Now, what I might want to try is just to say, does it matter that it's nested within the generic that you're making, or just that it's nested within a generic? Like, I can't remember where this is happening. I do think that the problem is in this build name thing. When I looked at this briefly before, I think that's where the problem lies. So I got my coffee this morning. Okay. So, first thing to do, as always, is to make a test. So, let's make one called test. Let's say async test generate with nested generic async. Okay. So now let's grab this code. Okay. And we probably want to do the and I really want to well, let's just stick with that for now. And then let's grab this, put that there, and then this is going to be called Does it do T? I forget how my code works sometimes. So let's see if we at least generate files with the right name. And we do. Okay, so now you just got to play the dance and get all the code copied in. I'm getting, like, whenever I make a change in a source generator project that I have tests that are failing and I got to regenerate this code here, I'm getting better at now it still takes some time, but like I've learned to, if I move up here, I can do Alt-1, tab up to here, move down to here, and just copy all this, come back. Whoops. Don't want to get too fast and make bad mistakes. I don't like it that it moves this over. Okay. Now, this should still fail, and it does. And if we see why it's failing, it's because of these errors. So if we go look at line 17, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you notice here, it doesn't have, like here it's right. Here we got the right name for here, but here we don't. And so when we're referencing this, we're not getting it correctly. So somewhere in build name, I believe, is where I'm not doing this correctly. So this is private, this is internal. And I bet build name is called in a lot of spots. Yes. Now, we do see this when we're building the handler because it's the delegate that we're building. So if I look at, no, not that, this. And if we have, do we have a parameter? No, we don't. So we're doing system func of return type build name. So yeah, it's the build name that's causing the problem. So what we can do is just put a breakpoint here. And when we look at the code, we can see hopefully what the problem is. So this is messy. I fully agree this is messy. So if it's not open generic, then we do this stuff. Otherwise, we get name for generic. Yeah, so something about this is probably gonna rear its ugly head when I start doing this. So let's go to here. And we don't need that. Don't need that. Stop. Debug, Windows, exception settings. We don't need to break on every one of these. Jesus. Okay. Let's close this. Let's turn off all breakpoints that I didn't know about. Put that one back on and run it again. Okay. Thank you. So now we have a return type here. And you'll notice that the return type has use generic T, I am generic T. Which that is actually correct. The fully qualified name is correct. So, but now we do this build name shenanigans. The parent naming context, which we don't care about. So, it is not. We're probably going to go into get name for generic is what I bet we're going to do. And we do. Now, does it not contain I don't like this heuristic, but I can't think of another way to handle the case where I get a generic type that's just a nullable type argument, like a T element. Yeah, I don't either. So, so we get, yeah, see, fully qualified with no generics. And this is the thing that always rattles me whenever I get into naming with rocks, is it's so sensitive of making sure the right name is in the right spot. Ironically, in this case, that's actually correct. This fully qualified no generics is assuming that, how do I say this? It's basically assuming it's not nested. And in this case, when it's nested, fully qualified name no generics just has the names. It doesn't have all the parts there. And so then it does this, and then it only does the last one, and that's not correct. What we want is, and that's interesting, why would I be calling this if the name is for generic, but we would not be, that's weird. That's weird to me. But I think what I need to do is, in this case, because if it's not an open generic, it does get a lot easier. If it is, we really need to look at the parts of the name, if that makes sense. So up here, if you look at a type, there should be a declaring. There's declared, or there's a, is it containing type? Yeah. So containing type, if I remember right, gets the names, returns null if the symbol is not contained within a type. So what we could do is what's the right way to do this? The way I'm doing it down here is just too basic. It's not enough. I need to basically have all the parts of all the types. And the other thing, though, I got to be careful about is I can't have like the fully qualified name for all those parts. So what I really want to do is take the fully qualified name and split on the dot, take each part and basically do this. I think if I understood that right. So we say var fqn parts, we'll take this, split, okay, and then we'll say for I is equal to 0, no, not int, come on, var less, come on, I is less than fqn parts length I plus plus. I cannot type this morning. fqn parts is equal to if of I is equal to if Now, I don't want to be too recursive here, because if I did something like, if that contains this, then I'm going to just keep spinning into the same thing, and that's not what I want. I actually want to do we should finally, we'll get down to where the name is not an open generic and it'll be a type parameter. We're assuming though here that the type arguments are for the current. And that's not true, because the nested generic might actually have less or more, and they may be different. Yeesh, this is getting ugly. Because we only have string at this point. We don't have... we don't have enough context with what I'm trying to do. So I get what I'm trying to do with get name for generic, but how am I going to do this? Sorry, I'm thinking off the top of my head, and the only thing I can think of is that I'm going to have to keep a equatable array of declared types, like the hierarchy of declared types. Not, this isn't inheritance, but up the tree for declared. And then when you get into get name for generic, instead of pulling the parts into a fully qualified name, you get through each declared type. And the type itself, because you need that there, and then any declareds before it. And that's what would build up your entire name. So yeah, I don't see how I'm going to be able to do this otherwise. Internal equatable array of type reference model declared types. And then up here, we say that can you say this declared add? No. Var declared types is equal to a new list of declared types. No, type reference model. And then we finally say this declared types is equal to declared types to array. What? New equatable array? How have I been doing this before? To equatable array? To mutable array? Is that how? Okay, whatever. All right, so we say var declared type is equal to type declared. No, containing type. Fine containing types. And we say this is containing. And that is containing types. This is that. So then we say while containing types is not we say containing type is equal to that, and then we add it to shit. If we make a type reference model here, that in turn would say what is its containing type. So maybe the right thing to do is not this, but that. And so we say containing type is new type reference model of the type containing type. There. Okay, so let's back all that out. There. Okay. So that gets us the hierarchy. Now, what we want is var name parts is equal to a new list of string. And then at the end, we're going to add on name parts. So we would add on sorry, I'm distracted because I'm getting texts from people and family, and why is new here? Oh, shut up. I don't need to listen to that right now. So see, I don't. this is really hard to explain. If I have the fully qualified name, I can't, like, I just want the name, no generics. Not the flattened name, so the name. That's just the name. And then we could take var containing type is equal to current containing type. Containing type. I don't like that it does that. It does not. No. This is, oh my god, this is really, 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 really getting ugly. I don't know how to do this. Because we want, the weird thing is that when I got into this, the fully qualified name was exactly what I wanted it to be. The problem is that, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. No. Why did it not? Why did it? Okay, now that was really weird. What is the problem here? Okay, I think this is also screwed up here. Okay, so that containing type thing is causing an issue, and we're going to have to fix that. So now if I look at fully qualified name, that's actually correct. That's what we want, is it to be T, not T2. I think it's because I'm calling this recursively. And so I get name for generic, I come into here, it would be this, and then I look at all the type arguments, and when I'm getting all the type arguments, because those could also be arguments. But oh man, this is going to be such a pain. This is going to be such a pain. Well, no, it won't. Why don't I just return fully qualified name? Why am I going through all of the... I mean, I sort of get this in the case where there's this naming context problem where if it's a method, but in this case, if I go back up the call stack, this should actually be, yeah, there's nothing in it. So maybe what I can do is say here, if parent naming context, come on. What I want to know is how many, like here I'm calling the hash set of names. Here I'm also calling the hash set of names. So this would be names, variables would be empty. So what I would like is something off of this to say, what is the name count? I don't need the names. I just need the count. There. So then what I could do is here is say, if the name count is equal to 0, just short circuit it and stop it. That helps stuff when it's like, when it gets way too helpful, it's like it gets to be very annoying. Return current fully qualified name. Else, let's go through all this garbage. Now, even by doing this, this doesn't solve the problem. Because the problem is, we still have a problem of yeah, and I just realized what the problem is with containing type, which is if type not containing type is not null, then you do this. Otherwise it's null. Because what was happening is if it was, it didn't matter what it was, we're passing this in, we're saying containing type to that thing is its containing type, which is null. Passing that in, containing type, it was just, it was spinning out of control. So we have that there. See, the problem though is like what I did here is if this was being returned from a method that was generic, we're doing this because well, see, that's what I don't understand. If I come back up here and I grab this, and let's just say I do this. Okay, and I know it's going to say do not nest yet. Well, let's say that this said T2, no, T3. T3. 3 value. Okay. Now this would actually be bound to this. If I made it this, now it should be this value. But in both cases, we had to specify the return value here as being this. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing here, because I've run into cases where the containing type of the method has generics. The method is also generic, but the method's parameters conflict with the... It gets really weird. And so I kind of know why I'm doing what I'm doing here. I do know that I have a short circuit, which is if I don't have anything to worry about with names, there's no point in doing this. But I am kind of curious. I'm fearful of I mean, I know that's why I have tests, but I'm fearful of making a change that's going to break something that I didn't anticipate. Because people do very strange things. Could you do that? That's not going to be allowed. Well, is that a warning or is that a... Yeah, it's a warning. So if I had 2 there, that's just the name. I don't know, man. I'm thinking in either case... Like if I had calculate and calculate... Oh, those are different. Well, fine. I'm kind of curious what... Why did it do that? Why? There. I'm kind of curious what it generates. And if we just do what I've currently been doing, let's... What the hell? Oh. Fine. Ah, crap. Why is it bombing? Stack Overflow. Fine. It's probably because of this. Although I don't see how. Okay. Wait. We are giving it the containing type. Wait a minute. What do we... Something... I mean, I can kind of see by looking at this. Let's type. I use... Wait, what are we... Okay. It is a generic type. What? What? Why? What? Why does it think it's a type parameter? This is... I use generic. So why do you think you're a type parameter? Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, so I'm assuming this is the first time we come in and its containing type is null. So containing type is going to be set to null. Great. That's how you use generic. Okay. So now we come into here. Type kind is an interface. Oh, no. Okay, I was reading that wrong. So now I go look at all the type arguments. And the type arguments should be like a T. So we do a type. What the hell was that? So now we come up here, that should be a T. It's containing to, oh Jesus, that's the problem. Okay. Because we're looking at T, its containing type is actually the generic. Well, that explains it. Nothing's ever easy, is it? Let's see what it does now. It's still, well, no, wait a minute. What did I'm doing that's right. Okay, I wanted to see. This is a func that returns. It takes a T3, it returns, and this should be 3. And then that's a that. And see, these are all wrong too. Like that's wrong. Okay, so let's do this. Else, I know this is still not right because this is saying if God almighty. Well, let's see what this does. So okay, now I bet it's not going to do this right anyway. So let's do that. let's get that. Now it passes, but I'm not convinced. Run tests. Everything passes, but I just don't like this. Not really convinced we need that. Okay, so let's do this. We did fix it. All the units has passed, but I'm not convinced this fixes everything. So we're going to shut down. We're going to start up again, because that's what you have to do when you build source generators. Although I have noticed that there's a thing there that says that like the source generator project has changed. Would you like to reload? I'm not sure. If I see that again, I want to really catch that, because that may be a nice addition. But anyway, all right. Okay, so now let's do this. Okay, been going at this for almost an hour. This is typical, though. This is typical. Okay, that all passes. Now let's see in cogen tests what happens. Because the community at large does things that are just wild at times. In fact, this got brought up because I think I found this in... Yeah, EF. EF does some just wild things with type definitions at times. And that's where I found more than a couple of issues and rocks with naming. I think one of the things with naming is, one thing I've toyed with is binding all the names that I need right away rather than trying to figure them out as I'm generating the code. And so when you run into a method that's generic, you automatically start binding everything and doing this naming context stuff as you're generating the names that you're going to need eventually for code generation. I think I actually have that as an issue somewhere in my stuff. Code based on target framework? Nope. Order member list. Yeah, I thought I had that somewhere here. I don't. I may have made it an issue and then deleted it, but I probably want to put that back in there, so that the names of everything that comes in. The problem with that, though, is like, what's a type definition, what's a type reference? I don't have a distinction between the two, nor do I know if I really need one. Excuse me. So this is actually good because this is something that's going to be fixed by something else. I don't remember what, but it's going to be, so, you know, let's do this. We're going to come into here, and that was in type reference model, right? I'm going to come down here and say this. I don't like this either. I have the feeling there is a hidden bug with nested types and type parameter names that will pop up in the future. The whole naming thing in Rocks has just been a mess since day one, and I just don't like it. And I don't want to go back and address it either. But this does seem to fix it. So what we're going to do is come into here. We're going to go under a change log, and we're going to say fixed. We're going to say nested generic types are now handled correctly. Which is, I'm sure somebody's going to find a way to break that. Okay, so all right. Okay, so an issue with, well, that's what these are, is an issue with nested generic types. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay, so I think put in a slightly hacky way to handle nested generics. Time for a merge. All right, so give me a second here. I'm going to do the fancy smanchy get manage branches. Let's go to 9. Check out. Merge that into this. Merge. Go on the 9. Push it. All right. That's done. Get right out of the mark. Yep. Okay, so let's come here and say that is closed. And in all my, that's gone. Did I have it here? No, I don't. Okay. What do I want to tackle now? What do I want to tackle now? Do I want to tackle this bug that I really don't want to tackle? This one, whenever I run into news, it becomes a doozy. This is saying cannot override. Yeah. And it's funny too, because when I put this code in and I made a derivation and I told Visual Studio to create overrides, it doesn't get it right either. So this is so rare. This is such a low priority. I'd rather fix, well, see, this feature is actually going to fix potentially another bug. So we have a bug. You know what? Here, what I'll do, I'm going to actually address the bug with a feature. But before I do that, I'm going to get some more coffee. So give me just a couple of seconds. If you're watching, by the way, if you're watching, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so please do that. I am at, we'll say 10, 20-ish. So probably just a couple of minutes. I'm just going to go get some coffee and I'll be right back. And then we'll go through the next set of stuff. Be right back. See, it was even quicker than that. So, all right. Okay, so the thing I want to work on now is to fix an issue with the feature. So what's happening here is what happens if I want to mock this. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit here. So this works, regenerates stuff, but the name is blank because we're not getting the right name of stuff. I tried this out because I wasn't sure how rocks would handle nested types of mocking with the example above. It can't make out the containing types because they already exist in the namespace. So here's the problem is I am typically putting the types and all the mocking infrastructure that I create within the namespace of the mock type. That's types container. I can't put it in types container.iouter.imiddle. That's not allowed. And, you know, for good reason. I mean, that makes sense. So, well, maybe somebody could argue and say, oh, it's not good enough, but whatever. That's not the point. The point is that I can't do that. So then I thought, well, maybe what, you know, I'll do here is, yeah, file seems to be created, but the name is blank. I forget like what I mean by name. But we'll put this in as our base because I think I know how to fix this. Hold on, I'm just reading some more messages. Okay, so let's see what this does first. I'll remember the behavior, and then I think I have a feature that I want to work on that will actually address this in terms of the feature. So since I know what the feature is, let's actually partial types. Yeah, so this is 342. Okay, so we're going to make a branch. Okay, and then we're going to go into here. Naming generator test. Sounds as good as any because this is a naming issue. Public static async task. Generate when mock type is nested. Async. Okay. Barcode. Do I already have that? No, I don't. Let's go back to issues here. Wait, why is this not? There, it went. I was like, why is that not? Yeah, we already got this as code we can grab. Okay, so now we say var create generated code. And again, we should do this for build type create or build type make is equal to that. And we say var make generated code is equal to that. And then we find an example that we can just copy pasta. Please, please, please. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna get, man, I don't even know what the name is gonna be here. Maybe that. So let's see what comes out of this now. It didn't even do a create. Outer. That's interesting. I outer dot I middle dot I inner. It doesn't. Oh, wait a minute. So if I take the namespace out, what happens? Okay, then I get a create. That's interesting. Not quite what I expected. Well, that's the thing. If we have a namespace here, or we don't, it shouldn't matter. We should see two files like this, and we don't. But here's where the fix comes into play. What I'm thinking of doing is keeping this. You can still declare something as an assembly level, and that's probably the default way I would expect people to do it. But what I want to give them is the ability to do something like rock type of well, okay, fine. Public partial seal class my inner mocks, my inner expectations. And that's it. And so what I'll do is I'll say it's what's being generated underneath the scenes. If you look at the description of the thing, everything from that partial class definition on is going to be exactly the same. Other than this name is basically, instead of the name I'm generating for create expectations or make expectations, it's this name. Now, one qualifier from this is that you can only give it one flag. Because if you gave it two, how would I be able to know like what this is the partial class you're giving it, and so I want to give it the same name. So if you wanted to have two, you could have make and then say my inner made expectations or something like that. And so I would look for the create flag first because it's probably what you wanted to do. And then if you do that. If you give it a make, doesn't matter, it ignores it. Only one flag is done at the time, and it will pick the first one it finds, which is create. Otherwise, if you give it a make, then it will do the make follow through. Either way, it will use that name to generate what you want to have. And then you would use that name instead of like I enter create expectations for your mocking. So everything just falls out from that point on. Okay. Now, something that I'm also just struggling with here is I have an attribute that at the assembly level, like if I look at the definition of the attribute, we can allow multiple. Okay. Attribute usage itself, I don't think it allows. Yeah, default is false. So if it doesn't specify it, you can't. Like I couldn't do this. Yeah, it's already barking. Yeah. And so this is a problem because obviously I want this to be cleared multiple times at the assembly level. But if you put it on a partial sealed class, it should only be on there once. You can't do something like this. It would cause just absolute chaos if you did that. So I can't allow that. What I could do is keep things as they are, but do that. Rock partial. And that would be a whole new attribute, but that would only allow you to define it on a type, specifically a class, not an interface. And then we could say allow multiple is false. What's also interesting is this would not stop you from also having what you have right here. Which is you'd have two. There's really no way I could stop you from doing that. There would be a set of assembly level ones that are generated the way Rox does it, and if you have a case where this comes into play, because what this is doing is it's not even generating the file. which is not good. And I don't want to just say, well, I'm going to put the inner create expectations into just the outer namespace, because what would happen if there was another interface in here that also has an inner, and you wanted to generate that? You don't know what the difference is between the two. So this has the ability to disambiguate stuff. The problem is this isn't going to work. I mean, that just, by definition, that's not going to work. This, I don't think would cause a naming conflict, because what would happen is you couldn't do like this, because that in and of itself is a duplicate definition. If I put two here, whoops, then those are disambiguous, you know, so that, or disambiguates, I should say. So the other thing too is that if the target type was generic, you have to specify the generics here. If you don't, what's going to end up happening is I would end up generating that, because all of the stuff underneath the scenes needs to honor that would be generic. So you would just buy what would end up happening is that the name wouldn't match. So there's a couple things I have in the thing. I say it has to be partial, it can't be a static class, it must be a class, not an interface or struct. And you must do this. So there's some checks that I'm going to have to do to make sure that this works correctly. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to solve all this in the time I want. I think what I should be focusing on, though, is keeping these two separates in terms of the models they make, and just let them create the models, you know. And I think when I look at Rock Generator, I'm looking at that. I could have another path that goes to find a model, which is a mock model. And a mock model has mock model information, and that is a type mock model. And a type mock model has on it what? It has a type reference model, and I bet that's what we're using to grab the mock type namespace. And I'm betting in this case, well, that's what's interesting, is I don't understand why it's like not even generating a file. So let's kind of back up the bus here for just a second and get our head around why is it not even doing that? Yeah, it doesn't even. I'm assuming we're not even getting into this. Yeah. It just like fails badly. We have to be getting into this though. So we get the mock type. Doesn't contain, you see build. It's not, it is null. Stop. Okay, we can take off that breakpoint, come into here, step in. Oh, for God's sakes, just step in. Yeah, I do give it something. Okay, I was like, I want to make sure that I'm actually giving it, like, methods. It didn't find any methods. Really? Is it mockable? Why are you not showing me that? What? That's weird. Here's a diagnostic. The type I enter is no members that can be overridden. Yeah, why do you think that? So, whoa, why do you think it's a class? Mock type. Why do you think it's an error? That's kind of bizarre. I mean, this is just a warning. This isn't a... Yeah, it's just a warning. But when you take the namespace off, it suddenly becomes okay. Like if I do this... So the mock type is now an interface. But putting it into a namespace caused it to be considered an error. That makes no sense. And so I get why it's doing what it's doing, because it doesn't... It's a class. It's an interface, but it thinks it's a class. And now it's going to be like declare types and these. So that is bizarre. Why does it give it back an error type like that? I'm more curious as to why it does that. I mean, either way, it should not be an error. You know, I mean, you may not like this, But we can say suppress it. What happens if I do that? I'm just curious. What happens if I say suppress the whole thing? I doubt that's the problem. I just don't understand why it comes back and says that it's an error. It still says it's an error. Why? That is really weird. I mean, that's something if I went to the Roslyn team and said, hey, why is this the case? Actually, this is something I'm still going to have to solve. And the reason is, even if I went with my idea here, well, I took it out now. If I made that partial idea, I'm still going to say, here's my target type. And it's going to come back in error, and so I really haven't fixed that. So there's something weird about like doing this. That non-error name type symbol. See, here it says it's an interface. This is correct, though. So I am really confused. I'm also confused that this makes a make, but not a create. If I did this, yeah, now you're gonna bark about that. But what does the actual make code look like? No, I don't want to debug. I don't care about that. What does that look like? Ah, crap. Okay, so it makes an inner make, even though there's a namespace there. So I think this is all garbage. I don't think this is right at all. Yeah, it's... because it doesn't know the type, it doesn't know the namespace, all this is garbage. And it didn't recognize, just like before, that there is a run method. This should also be fully qualified. That should be saying, this should be saying global types dot namespaces or something like that, right? Types dot container. That's what it should be doing. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of noise here, and it comes down to the fact that it thinks that the type is an error. Why? I don't know. No. Wait a minute. I think I might have just seen my problem. Maybe. What happens if I do this? No, it knows what that is. Yeah, that's okay. I thought maybe I had to put like types.container. But you can, but it's not needed. Yeah, so that's not it. But I'm being an idiot. You need to have using types.container. Now, this doesn't, I think, get away from the problem that I'm still seeing. So let's do this. See, now I'm seeing types contain. Okay. So I think the reason I see this problem is in part the way I'm generating the code in my test application. Which is what I need to do is put a using statement up here and not just qualify it this way, because at this point it doesn't it doesn't know that, if that makes sense. Okay. This is clarifying some stuff here. No, I don't want to debug. This is going to be interesting, folks. This is going to be interesting. Yep. Okay. So I don't think I've ever had a bug in rocks, in the sense that the code that I'm generating in the code generation test app is wrong. So somewhere in here, where am I actually generating the code? Yeah, here. So get type definition is fine. But the problem is that we need to put the namespace here if if it's nested. So let's clear all this out, test generator, bring that up, program. I'm going to test with one type. And the one type we're going to generate. Ah, crap. Okay, well, back at the bus even more. I don't even know where I found this. This is a mistake on my part. Because the problem that we're seeing with nested types within the namespaces. No, that's the one I'm looking at. This new one was from R3. Wait a minute. What is the one I just fixed? Nested generic types are not being handled. Is that the one? That's the one in Entity Framework Core. Okay, and so the one that we have remaining is this new members, and that's this weird one with R3. Because if I come back into my program here and I say no, let's run it against all types. And just let it go. The thing though is my test was set up incorrectly. So it will do what I think it should, well, do as best as it can. It's going to go, the best thing I can do is put this inner in this namespace with inner create expectations. Of course, this could run into problems, right? Because it, what happens if you have something else within this namespace just called inner that you want to mock? It won't cause, then it would make an expectations too. So I still want to do the thing with the partial class definition. But I think I've solved this in that however I found this in the first place, it was really just because I didn't have the right code there in the first place to create the test. So that at least that makes me feel good. It's kind of an embarrassment, a tiny bit, but it's good. It's all good. So I'll let this run just to be sure, but then I think I'm going to close this. I'm almost positive I can close this out. Middle, no, outer. No. This is a whoopsie daisy, otherwise known as a mistake. So I am going to keep this in here though. I mean, I don't have to update the changelog because it's not something that I actually need to fix. But again, it does have the slight irksome thing that, yeah, so we still have those two. That's fine. So it still is a slight irksome thing that it's going to make this. It's just not going to put it. It puts it in the right namespace. It arguably, because of scoping and stuff, you would want to say, well, it should also be within these types, but you can't make types here arbitrarily. So I think this is doable and usable, so that's why it's not a bug. But I do like the idea, or at least I still want to explore the idea of keeping a partial type around, and that you can then specify the names yourself. Because this is something I've toyed with, which is, how do you generate the name? How do you generate a specific name in a specific namespace? How can you control that? And I thought of doing configuration options. I thought of maybe doing some kind of like component plugin model or something. This would plug you in just fine. And it just would say, of course, we need a different attribute here, but this would basically just say, this is the name of it. You generate everything else for me. And I like that. I think that gives you that flexibility in those cases to say, this is how I want to name my mock stuff. I can have control over it by doing this. So instead of doing one line of code, like what we typically do here at the assembly level, you would now need two. It's whatever. I mean, the other thing too is what happens if you put this within a nested type. I'd just be like, don't do that. Just please don't do that. Though, no, that would be fine. Right? Or would it? Like if I said namespace types.container, and then I have public interface container, and then I have public interface inner. I say void work. Of course, it's going to bark about that, but I could say public partial sealed class inner. Partial modifier going before class record struct interface. Order modifiers. Oh, and then this is wrong because of that. And what's it still barking about? Oh, for God's sakes, just say public. Okay. Shut up. All right, but that shows that you could make it sealed if you wanted to. The problem is I can't make an interface container because it's already there. And do public sealed partial class inner public void foo. What the? Why are you not? My key just died. What the heck? That was weird. Okay. Huh. Whatever. It was being a little bit bizarre. But yeah, it's like, well, you already have a container. So if you did this, that would be on you. And it's just don't put your partial type within another type. Because then, even for just not even just rocks, if you did that for something in general, that's problematic. Because the partial class here, if I just put this like that, and I said go to all definitions, that's the only one. If I say here, go to all definitions, it thinks there's two because it's doing the best between this one and this one. But it won't work because I can't define container twice. I could do this. odd, but I could do that. Okay. Because now if I go to Go All Definitions, it's these two. Okay. But I, as an author, would not be able to put this arbitrarily within your container interface type. So, yeah. So the long and short of it is, I'm going to just merge this in with this one test and close out the issue, but there's no changelog update because I've not changed anything within Rocks. But I think what I'm going to do is still explore this idea and work on that in the future. But at this point, I've been going for an hour and 40 minutes, and I think I'm pretty much toast. So I'm going to stop it here. So if you've been watching, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe. I would also greatly appreciate that as well. I am planning on doing some streaming this afternoon with Tomb Raider and continuing playing that game because I really love that game. It's a lot of fun. And I'm about halfway through the first one right now. So I'll probably do a couple more streams of that this afternoon. Really enjoy that game. It's a lot of fun. So you can stop on by later and check that out. And I think that's fun to watch as well. Don't know. With that, I am going to stop the stream and take a break for now. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the future. Take care.